Welcome to the world of stories. This is HRB Verse, where every story is real, heartfelt, and unforgettable. Subscribe now and become part of a journey you'll never forget. When my parents insisted it was time for me to find a wife, they also pushed me out to make room for my jobless brother, Ethan. So I purchased the house and gave him a choice: pay rent or leave. "You've always envied me," Ethan shouted. I smirked. "No, I just stepped up and now I own what you thought was yours." This saga unfolded over years, with all names changed to avoid any copyright concerns. I, a 32-year-old man, always knew my family saw me as the fallback son. Some parents pretend to love all their kids equally, but mine didn't bother hiding their favoritism. Ethan was their golden boy, their pride and joy. I was just there. Growing up in a middle-class Minneapolis suburb, Mom would light up whenever Ethan walked in. She'd brag about his latest achievements to strangers at church or the grocery store, while I faded into the background like a ghost. When Ethan left for college at Northwestern, Mom was inconsolable for months, calling him daily as if she were grieving. It was almost pitiful to witness. They didn't despise me, I just wasn't Ethan. He was boisterous, a football star, soaking up all the attention with his charm, or, frankly, his loudmouth antics. I was quieter but athletic, placing at state wrestling twice in high school. Yet my trophies were relegated to basement boxes, while Ethan's elementary school participation medals adorned the living room. No exaggeration. His fourth-grade football certificate hung in the hallway until I moved out. I learned early that no matter what I accomplished, I'd never outshine St. Ethan. I graduated with honors in business management and landed a solid job at a medical equipment company, but Mom's response was a tepid, "That's nice, dear. Did you hear Ethan might get a promotion at his marketing firm?" Never mind that Ethan had been up for promotion 5 times and never secured one, likely because he spent more time schmoozing at bars than working. My parents refused to see it. The worst part? I accepted it as normal. I thought that's how families worked. One kid gets to be the star and another is the spare. Guess who got the short end? At 23, while working post-graduation, my parents shared their exciting retirement plan. Mom had been juggling part-time retail jobs, and Dad was done with his insurance adjuster career. Their grand idea. I'd move back home to help out until Ethan had kids, then they'd move to Colorado to be near him. Fast forward, Ethan and his wife, Lena, still hadn't produced the grandkids they craved. In fact, Ethan was floundering. He and Lena were barely scraping by in Denver. I hadn't seen him since 2 Christmases prior, when he whined about his condo, his boss, and his entire life. He flaunted designer clothes he couldn't afford, $300 jeans, flashy watches, while complaining about the system holding him back. He barely acknowledged me, treating me like background noise. Meanwhile, I was holding everything together, working my way up to regional sales manager, paying rent to cover their expenses, maintaining the house, and even renovating their bathroom and building a splinter-proof composite deck in the backyard with my own hands. My life wasn't perfect, but it was stable. I had good friends, played recreational hockey, and dated when I could. Yet no matter what I did, Mom talked about Ethan like he was a deity. When I landed a major account, boosting my commission by thousands, she asked if I could loan Ethan money because he was struggling. He'd leased a BMW he couldn't afford and was panicking about payments. This wasn't the first time. They'd asked me to bail him out at least 5 times. Family gatherings were the Ethan show. If he called on holidays, everyone crowded around the phone like it was the Pope. If he visited, Mom spent weeks preparing his favorite meals and cleaning his old room like royalty was coming. For my birthday, Mom baked a boxed cake. For Ethan's, she spent 3 days cooking his favorites and invited the extended family. Then Ethan lost his job. He and Lena were living paycheck to paycheck, maxing out credit cards to maintain appearances. They were drowning. Mom acted like this was the best news ever. "This is perfect," she squealed at dinner. "Ethan and Lena can move in while he gets back on his feet and maybe they'll start a family." My heart sank. She didn't ask my opinion. I was expected to comply, as always. Ethan was in need and I was supposed to bend over backward. Then came the bombshell. They sat me down for a family meeting and told me to move out. "There's not enough space for everyone," Mom said in a saccharine tone. "Besides, it's time you focused on finding a wife and starting your own family." The kicker? They expected me to keep paying rent after I left. I felt like I'd been punched. For 5 years, I'd put my life on hold to support them, while Ethan partied hundreds of miles away. Now they were evicting me so he could take my place, and I was still supposed to foot the bill. Dad, sensing my rage, suggested I think it over. But I didn't need time. For the first time, I saw my parents clearly. It was never about fairness or appreciating my efforts. It was always about Ethan. I asked, "So you want me to leave the house I've been maintaining and paying for so Ethan can move in and you still expect me to pay rent?" Mom had the gall to say, "We're on a fixed income and Ethan needs time to find a job. It's just until he's back on his feet." "How long will that be?" I pressed. She waved it off. "Oh, you know Ethan, he's so talented. He'll bounce back soon." Sure, just like all those other times he was on the cusp of success. I muttered, "I've heard that before." By morning, my hurt had turned to fury. I replayed every moment they fawned over Ethan while ignoring my promotions. Every time Mom showed off his old jerseys while my wrestling trophies gathered dust. Every sign I was just a placeholder. And they still expected me to pay? No way. I told them I was done being their ATM. My mind was made up. I was finished being their backup plan. Over the next week, I quietly packed my essentials, documents, valuables, clothes, and everything I couldn't live without. I didn't tell them. I knew I'd snap if they questioned me. I'd accumulated a lot over the years: weights, tools, books. I cataloged everything, especially my grandfather's antique toolbox, the only real family heirloom I had. I wasn't leaving it for Ethan to pawn. While packing, I searched for a new place. Since I'd been covering most of their mortgage, I could afford my own. I found a great apartment 15 minutes from work, 2 bedrooms, a balcony for grilling, and all mine. I signed the lease on Thursday and planned the move for the weekend. My parents thought I was still mulling their offer. They had no idea I was dismantling my life from theirs. Moving out was surreal. I waited until after midnight, partly for the drama, partly to avoid their guilt trips. I'd already moved most of my stuff over days, claiming I was reorganizing. That night, I took my bed, remaining clothes, and gaming setup, leaving my keys on the counter with a note. "I found my own place. Don't ask about rent." Simple and direct, unlike our relationship. I drove off without looking back. The next morning, I blocked my parents and Ethan on everything: phone, email, social media, even LinkedIn, where Ethan tried reaching me through work contacts. For the first time in years, I felt free. That first week in my apartment was like a new life. I could leave my gym bag on the couch, come and go without explanation, and meal prep without judgment. I set up a weight bench in the second bedroom and organized my protein and vitamins in the kitchen. No one questioned why I needed so much chicken in the fridge, but the peace didn't last. 3 weeks later, my Uncle Tom called from an unknown number. He taught me practical skills like changing oil and fixing faucets when Dad was too busy with Ethan's games. "Noah, what the hell?" he said. "You vanished and your parents are about to lose their house." I was stunned. He revealed Ethan had been jobless for 6 months, not weeks, and my parents had been secretly sending him thousands monthly to support his and Lena's lavish Denver condo. Worse, they'd taken a second mortgage without telling me. Now they were missing payments and facing foreclosure. So, they borrowed against the house, expected me to keep paying, and were funneling my money to Ethan, I asked, gripping the phone. Tom confirmed it. "You need to fix this, Noah. They're your parents." I laughed bitterly. "Fix it? Why's this on me? Where's Ethan?" Tom admitted Ethan had been leeching off them for years. "This isn't my mess," I said. "They chose Ethan like always. Now they can deal with it." Hanging up, I felt the betrayal sink in. All those times they said they were tight on funds, it wasn't their retirement. It was Ethan. My rent money had been propping up his lifestyle. They'd used me while I worked overtime, then expected me to save them. No more. Still, I thought about the house. I'd grown up there, fixed its roof, wiring, and plumbing. I didn't want it foreclosed, but I wasn't paying for Ethan's entitlement. So I made an offer. At the house, Mom looked exhausted, Dad avoided eye contact, and Ethan sat smugly with Lena, sporting a gaudy watch he couldn't afford. "I know about the second mortgage," I said, watching Mom's hopeful look turn to guilt. "Tom told me you've been funding Ethan's lifestyle." Dad tried to interrupt, but I stopped him. "I'm not here to argue. I have a solution." I offered to take the house in my name, handling the mortgage legally. They could stay, but Ethan and Lena had to pay the same rent I'd paid since 23. Mom hesitated. "This is our family home. We can't just give it to you," I replied. "It's your chance to keep it. The bank owns more than you do now." Ethan exploded. "This was my inheritance. You're jealous trying to steal it." I laughed. "Inheritance? I've been here paying bills while you've been mooching 3 states away." He sputtered about the job market, but I stayed calm. "I'm not paying for your free ride. Pay rent or leave." Dad said they'd think about it. Ethan muttered, "You've always tried to outdo me." I smiled. "No, Ethan, I just showed up." It felt incredible to finally say it. A week later, Lena called, shaken. Ethan hadn't paid a cent, even after a foreclosure notice. He insisted I was scheming to take the house, but Lena was done with his excuses. She described him leaving daily to network, returning drunk at 2 a.m., while Mom did his laundry and my parents faced losing everything. I felt for Lena. She was trapped with my entitled brother. I revised my offer. Same deal, but Ethan had to leave if he wouldn't pay. Lena could stay. She agreed to pitch it. The next meeting was chaos. Ethan flipped out, knocking over a mug, calling me a greedy bastard and getting in my face. "You're jealous because Mom and Dad love me more?" he yelled. I didn't flinch. "This is about responsibility, Ethan. Your free ride's over." Mom and Dad tried to mediate, but they still leaned toward him. I walked out saying, "Take my offer or face foreclosure." Guilt nagged me, what if they lost the house? But I refused to let it control me. I'd done my part. Months later, life improved. I started dating Claire, a physical therapist, got promoted, and took up Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. My apartment felt like home, no snarky comments about my gym obsession or freezer space. Then Lena called, sobbing. The foreclosure was real. Ethan had rejected my offer, and their fights had escalated, with neighbors calling the police. Ethan had maxed out their credit cards and even Dad's emergency card, lying about job interviews. I gave one final offer. I'd buy the house, title in my name, no negotiation. Ethan had to pay rent or leave. I wouldn't cover his expenses. Surprisingly, my parents agreed, likely out of fear. Ethan was furious but didn't show up to sign the papers. Mom cried like she was losing a child, not a deed. Dad signed in silence. Just like that, I owned the house I'd grown up in, the one I'd paid for since 23, the one meant to be Ethan's inheritance. Mom wailed about our torn family. Dad accused me of abandoning them, but I'd heard it before. "This is my house now," I said. "If you want to help Ethan, leave with him." I gave Ethan 3 months to shape up. He didn't. To my shock, they moved out, staying with Uncle Tom, who'd once lectured me about family. Karma's funny. Tom's modest 3-bedroom was a downgrade for them. Mom and Dad took part-time jobs at a hardware store to survive. Ethan predictably tagged along, sleeping on Tom's pull-out couch, whining about privacy. Lena left after a week, showing up at my door with a suitcase. "I'm done," she said. "Ethan won't work and your mom treats him like a kid." I let her stay in my spare room. She got a job at a boutique, moved out, and later divorced Ethan. I don't blame her. Life kept getting better. I remodeled the house. New kitchen, hardwood floors, a fire pit, and a home gym in Ethan's old room. Claire moved in. We married in a small ceremony, no parents or Ethan invited, and she started her own practice. I launched my medical equipment distributorship. 6 months ago, Dad called voice breaking. Tom had kicked them out. Ethan's drama was too much. Mom's blood pressure was soaring. Dad's job barely covered meds, and Ethan had fled to Florida for a fresh start, leaving them stranded. "We were wrong about you," Dad admitted. "You were always there for us." I could have told them to figure it out, but I'm not them. "There's an apartment over the garage," I said. "You can stay, but you pay rent, don't mention Ethan, and admit you were wrong." They agreed, moved in, and it's been awkward. Mom cried over the renovations. Dad shook my hand, a first in years. They're tiptoeing around me now. Last week, Mom bragged to a church friend about my business, using the proud tone once reserved for Ethan. "Noah's always been the responsible one," she said. "It shouldn't matter, but it does." She brings dinner sometimes, helps Claire garden. Dad apologized, admitting he let Mom's Ethan obsession run the family. It's late, but it's something. Ethan, fired from a Miami bartending job, begging Mom for money. She said no progress, I guess. He emailed me once. "I hope you're happy you turned everyone against me." I didn't reply. I wonder if I was too harsh, but then I recall years as the afterthought, the safety net. Now the house meant for Ethan's inheritance is where Claire and I will raise our son. She's pregnant with our first, a boy. If we have more kids, they'll all be loved equally. Edit update. Wow, this exploded overnight. Thanks for the support and awards. Many asked about Ethan. He's back in Minnesota, living in a rundown apartment, working at a cell phone store, still begging Mom for unrepayable loans. He tried contacting Claire on Facebook to reason with me. She blocked him. Dad's fixing up the garage apartment, making it livable. Mom still defends Ethan, but tries with Claire, which I respect. Business is thriving. Claire's pregnancy is smooth, and I sleep soundly knowing I stood up for myself. Some called me harsh. Maybe I was. After 30-plus years as the family doormat, I'm okay with that. Thank you for watching my story. If you enjoyed it, Please subscribe and press the bell icon. Stay tuned for more real-life stories, get more experiences.